Homeschool Mom Chat. I'm Teresa Wiedrich, the graduated homeschool mom turned certified life coach in the homeschool mom space. I've been homeschooling for, I have lost track of the years. My oldest daughter is she's 24, and so you could say I've mothered for 25 years. I've also home educated somewhere after she turned grade 2 and officially started researching 2 years before, but also included many learning activities with my second daughter, so it's so hard to say exactly when I began homeschooling. But I've been doing this long enough to appreciate that both the efforts are remarkable and challenging at times, and also amazing. This is an amazing life, and I stick around this space because I want to support you. I see how very much you have the chutzpah, the capacity to do all the things that you're doing and create a very meaningful, purposeful life for you and your kids. And so my goal is to support you to do it with clarity and confidence, and do it from a sense of alignment from the inside out. So today I'm going to have a conversation with Sigbrit. She is a homeschool mom that is on the East Coast, a homeschool mom of 3 girls, and she is also sharing that. And also I had a conversation with her on my podcast, the Homeschool Mama Self-Care Podcast. It was released yesterday, and it was all about trusting your gut, or trusting your intuition as you're homeschooling, making choices that align with what you truly know. And so her and I had a really interesting conversation yesterday. We've had many conversations. Hi. So, and I would love for you to meet her because she is an Enneagram 8, a type 8. And if you know anything about Enneagram, Enneagram helps us to understand what our core motivations are and how we move in the world, what motivates us, what can frustrate us or challenge us. And this girlfriend, she is capable of trusting her gut, and it's a pleasure to know her and to bring her to you. So welcome, Sigbrit. You just need to accept the invite as long as you are already following me, and then it will bring your video up here. So while I'm waiting to invite Sigbrit to have a chat with us, if we haven't already met, I'm Teresa. I am on the west coast of Canada. Not really the west coast. I'm on the west side. I live in British Columbia in the mountains, and I'm about 10 hours away from the ocean. So if that gives you context. I get the pleasure of meeting people from all over the world. I have chatted with people from Australia and Pakistan and Malaysia and France and the Bahamas. I was almost ready to actually say, hey, I don't need to coach you. I'll just come homeschool your kids if you'd like. So close if I didn't actually have kids at home still. Okay, so I'm not quite sure why it's not working. I will wait. Oh, hey, so
Oh,
good.
oh, wow. That took a while. Hi, Teresa. Thanks for being here.
So you're coming.
Okay, now the sound went off.
Oh,
I think I'm going inside.
okay. So you're coming from the East Coast, from the West
Yeah.
Coast. I put on summary because I'm ready to go to the water slides with you.
Well, I, we went to the water park, and we also went to the regular amusement park, and there was a roller coaster. I went on because my girls have never been on a roller coaster, and I wanted to go with them, and I'm never doing that one again.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not really a coaster girl, but I'll tell you, I will go on pretty much any water slide. And now I tried this summer to go. My son is almost 17, and he's like, "Do I have to?" And I'm like, "No, I guess you." Years we went every single year. Things change when you get kids that are a lot older. But I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to our conversation, but it was a really good conversation.
I did, and I don't know, maybe I downloaded it too early, but
Oh,
it stopped in the middle, just so you know.
okay.
Because I thought I take a long time to respond to this, and then I realized, oh, it stopped. It's over.
With the Wi-Fi, I'm not sure. I listened to it myself, and there were some conversation points that I found just they're resonant conversation points that are ones I have on repeat with homeschool moms. When I first when I first wrote my book, I was writing it from all the stuff that I'd written over my 15 or so years at that point homeschooling. And I thought these were just like relevant topics that probably would make sense to other moms. And then I came to understand they absolutely did, that I had loads of people go, "Oh, I can't believe you said that out loud. I'm so so glad you're being honest about the challenges of this very beautiful homeschool life, but also this very challenging homeschool life at times." And since then, as I've coached, I've learned that these themes are resonant for everyone, and I think we touched on almost all of them in that conversation. Was there one that you felt like, that one was more impactful than others, or certain themes that you've discovered in your own homeschool, 4 or 5 years homeschooling, that feels more, I don't know, pressing than others?
Um, I don't think so. I think that it all came around. It's all very important, and it's all the topics are like, yeah, we go through all of them all the time. And yeah, some seasons are better than others with some things.
Yep.
Yeah, but I think that most of all is probably the overwhelm sometimes, because you can easily find you're in a season where there's just too much going on, or things happen. So which happened for us this summer. So you don't get all your plans done, and then the overwhelm comes, because this was what I was supposed to do during the summer months before the fall season starts.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Wrote something about a summer reset at the beginning of summer. And I know that everybody has different priorities, so I don't ever think that what I'm saying is something that people should do black and white. I know that's not the case. But I did learn over the course of maybe 5 to 8 years that I needed a full break in summer. I needed to stop thinking about um, the things that we did or didn't finish. And then actually what really helped me by doing that is that I moved into a frame, like a mindset of, oh, they're still learning, even though I'm not sitting them down to do things. And that really helped me to notice that the learning continued despite my lesson plans incomplete by the end of May or June.
Yeah, I think for me, it's like we don't really school that much during the summer. That's the time where I get other projects done. Plus, this year I wanted us to get into like try and switch our routine, daily routines, and get us into our new routine. And it just never happened. And I think I was about to learn that you cannot control everything. You have to let go of that control, and just go with it.
That has been a discussion that we've had in the collective for the last 2 Fridays. It's all about control. And when I remember writing a couple of posts way back on my blog about letting go of control, and I was embarrassed writing it because I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm acknowledging that I'm trying to control things. And and then now I realize, no, that is like common denominator for us as moms in the home. Not that we're like control mongers, not that, but that we're trying to create something really beautiful for everybody and trying to create spaces of peace and harmony instead of conflict and frustration. And we're trying to create all these opportunities for our kids that we think are amazing. And they're not always like going with us on this, or the universe isn't, because other stuff happens, regular life stuff. And yeah, that control thing is very real. Having to learn to let go is probably best most times, but really hard.
Yeah, it's like you think you're not controlling. You think like, oh, well, just because I want to, we have sports kits, so I thought, oh, we'll just do a little regular. I'll do some yoga with one of them, and we'll do a little running, and it's still me controlling it. It's still me like suggesting, and people got injured and sick, and so it never got running with this new routine.
So, you and I have had a lot around interest-led learning and how you wanted to move more into that. That's a common conversation point also that I have with people, that they really, really want to do things that their kids are motivated to engage and that they really care about. But they also really want to get certain things done. They really want to make sure that they've checked off the boxes that they've preconceived as important, or their state or province. And then they feel this like thing in the back of their head that says, but we're going to miss something. And so if we don't slow down and do everything, then there'll be gaps. Or where I notice my child is not doing what their friend is doing at the co-op. And so, oh goodness, they're behind in something. But I've seen that you've done a big shift in how you're framing a lot of those things. And I'm sure it's never like it's an ongoing thing. But what have you done to really shift towards trusting the reality of who the child is in front of you?
Well, yeah, it's an ongoing thing, and it doesn't always happen. But I think pretty much since beginning of April, we haven't had any formal like learning. But of course, they do something all the time. And yeah, I was planning to, have us also because their sports really start. So we have to have like a basic schedule I've made, which can change. And the plan is to start it next week, because that's when all their extra activities starts picking up.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's just been rolling this summer. But yesterday, the schools around here, they started. And, I saw one of the moms taking a photo of her girl outside, who's actually a close friend of my oldest. And she's starting middle school. And it's like, okay, and we're not really doing anything because you're supposed to do a lot of cleaning and getting things ready. We're not really sitting down to do anything. So you get that little pang of like, ooh, am I doing the right thing here?
Hmm. So how do you really know for sure then how you're doing the right thing? How do you assess that?
Usually if I'm like taking a walk or sitting by myself or, reading or listening to podcast, or then I really know that it feels right. I am doing the right thing. But yeah, of course, the fear, it comes up once in a while.
I brought up the conversation around you being Enneagram 8 because uh, what I understand about different Enneagram types, and if no one understands what I'm talking about, please let me know. But add some content in the next little while about Enneagram types because I'm always speaking about it. But the Enneagram really just shows us what our core motivations are all about and what really drives us. Like I'm an Enneagram 2, so my instinct is to want to help and support. And whereas an 8 is somebody who is, what I understand is an advocate for justice or rightness or doing the right thing, and a very strong leader, like a natural leader who can trust their gut and just know that something is. And I've heard or understood that that's where you're coming from. And even though I don't know, there's something to be said about a woman that actually stops and listens to herself and trusts her intuition, actually listens to her intuition, because when she listens to herself, she might discover that actually she has a lot to share with herself and it gives herself insight. But we are going so fast and so busy all the time that we're not always stopping to listen. What do you think is really true? What's the biggest benefit to homeschooling for this child or this child or this child? Is this the right thing for them this year? And I think it's pretty cool to watch you. You have such a strong sense of your intuition and how it affects your choices.
Yeah, it's really important to take those times by yourself, to be still, not to be distracted by watching something, or just be still and be with yourself, like to figure out, is it the right thing I'm doing? And also with the girls, like what is the right thing for them? Like really kind of checking in, because noticing what they're doing. Yeah, so even though an Enneagram 8 is kind of a leader and wants to be in charge, you have to step back. You really have to step back and let them take the lead. And mine, yeah, now they're 11 and 8, 11 and 9, so they're getting more and more independent and can, to some degree, control their own time and what they're doing. So yeah, you get to be more and more the guide, the mentor,
Oh,
than you are actually telling them what you should do. Except if we still have some chores around here that needs to be done, and the getting ready to go out for whatever you're doing.
yeah, yeah. Actually, that adolescent thing brings in a whole new challenge. I often say to moms that if you suspect that your child is going into adolescence, you're probably right. They could be 8, they could be 11. Certainly, it's a lot earlier than it used to be. Same thing with perimenopause, but that's a different discussion. If you think you're going into menopause, you probably are. If you've got signs, they say you probably are. By the way, that's on the top of my head. But the individuating or the age, they begin to express their opinions on things, or they say, "Well, mom, no, I can do this. You don't do this." And initially, there's like you're taking a step back, going, "Is she telling me that she's independent?" There's a bit of a moment where you're like, "Wait, what's happening here?" But that moment is the moment that you have to begin to let go. And I say begin because it's awfully hard.
Yeah, and I heard other moms say that those evening conversations, like when you just come in to actually say goodnight, then that's when the talking starts, and asking questions.
Yeah,
So
lots.
yeah,
It's somehow their moment of the day where they are ready. They're finally ready to go into something deeper. But so I don't know how we do that as moms, because reality is sometimes we have to say no because we're too tired. If we've got younger kids that are not quite sleeping through the night and we're not sleeping through the night, but sometimes we have to say, yeah, we need to do this tonight. We need to connect with this kiddo for sure. The two other conversation points that we had in the podcast episode were about losing yourself and losing your sense of self in this homeschool mom experience, and also about learning to work together with our partners as we're homeschooling to make it a partnership rather than actually I think most at least oftentimes I'm hearing from dads that they very much want their wives to do what they're doing, but they don't want them to burn out. That's what I often hear, and they're concerned about that singular reason. But I'm curious if either of those conversation points, if there was anything that you wanted to share after our conversation.
well, so we have actually, here over the summer, had to put in boundaries with the evening. Um, we usually have like a read aloud after dinner, when at least the girls are in clothes and brush teeth. And then they keep hanging down. They come down, they have an art project they're doing, or something, and bring another book they're sitting and looking at. And then they keep hanging around. And especially our oldest, even though we went in to say goodnight and we were talking, then she comes in to us to say goodnight. And I had to say, I simply need some time to wind down. Like when you're off, because I have you most days, all the day, I need some time. Because otherwise my bedtime gets pushed later, and I still get up early in the morning because that's where I have my morning time by myself. So we had to put in some boundaries and says, when we are done reading, which is usually somewhere between 9 and 9:30, you are up in your rooms. You can, you can read and do what you want, but we are done and not coming running out, you know, getting something. Or I usually keep a list of books they read, and then they will come down, or come in either down or bedroom like 11:30. I finished this book, and it's like, yeah, that can wait until tomorrow. You can give it to me tomorrow. I'm not going to put it on the list now anyway.
That's the one thing that I know this isn't for every Enneagram 8, but I know that you generally have more instinctive confidence around your boundaries. And I know that's not, like that's not everyone, of course, but there's a lot of us heart types on the Enneagram that have a really hard time saying no. And especially around things like sleep and energy, when you recognize that you don't have the energy for something, but you keep doing it anyway. Um, and that I think is such a strength of the Enneagram 8 to know that, listen, I just don't have the energy. This isn't in your favor, actually, if I try to pretend here. So let's just wrap it up and then I'll see you in the morning. Or, of course, there's always the value of booking eyeball to eyeball time with each of your kids. I speak to that a lot because if we don't give that time to our kids, then they push for it harder and then there's more of a conflict between the two. But do you find it a challenge, or is it something that just comes instinctively for you?
It can be a little bit of a challenge to get the alone time with one kid. Um, I know. I remember even a couple of years ago, one of the girls like, "Oh, I just want like a day with mommy." To have that time. Well, I'm actually taking one of them to some painting tonight, where it's just me and her. But yeah, that it can be a little challenging. So sometimes it's just like going to the supermarket, grocery shopping, and one comes with you. Or like my husband, like if we are getting takeout, just to drive and pick up the food, one goes with him.
Yeah, one of my daughters said to me, for years I thought it was so much fun that you and I were going to the grocery store alone, and you'd let me choose the cereal and the granola bars, and then we'd go for bubble tea afterwards. But now I know we were grocery shopping. I'm like, yep, it worked though.
Yeah, it's I even know like one of another homeschool mom I'm in a group with. She mentioned like when she grew up, she was the oldest, and when her mom like kind of in the evening after the younger kids were in bed asked her if she wanted to go grocery shopping, she said yes, because that was just mom time with her and her mom.
Yeah, it's funny how we do that, but I mean, we have to. And I don't know about you, but when I was 20 something and I had to do my groceries, I thought that was like so much work. The hour that I put toward all the, the errands and the banking and the groceries and heading or bringing the garbage to the garbage chute in my two-bedroom apartment on a fourth floor. I thought that was so much work. And now I see it wasn't. It really wasn't.
Yeah,
Find time for four kids. I mean, I was four, you're three. I know moms that have 12. There's one mom that shared that she's only homeschooling seven this year. Yes,
yeah,
that,
that's a lot. Yeah,
that is a lot.
yeah.
Um, so what about the conversation that we had about partnering relationships and really including our partners in the choices of our homeschool and making it palatable for them, I guess? Because sometimes we can actually see things very differently in how we educate. And I'm curious your thoughts.
Well, my husband actually really likes to be involved, especially in the things that interest him, which is the math, the more like the science. Um, so yeah, he likes to be involved. He reads aloud to them too. Um, and yeah, so I know I'm taking the most of it because I'm here during the day. He goes to work, but um, he likes to do a lot of it. We actually do they get these Crunch Lab boxes, which is kind of technology engineering, and that's his job. Of course, I could do it, but the interest is not as big as his. So he he does that. And we actually found out in the beginning, we had all three of them work on the same project. You can do one thing, then the next, that doesn't work. So it's one-on-one here.
Love that. Yeah, that interest, when dad or mom is particularly interested in something, just the energy of us really showing up, and really caring about something, it fuses. Kids really take interest in it. And even though my husband is a physician, it was me that really found the passion in the human biology. And he would be doing things like economics, because my husband loves that stuff, and history and things like that. But he didn't follow my lesson plans. My early, he was such an unschooler right from the beginning, despite having, I don't know, 16 years or something of post-secondary education. And yet he was like, nah, we can just like wing it. Inspiration for me.
That's another thing you have to get used to, like with your partner, like they do it differently than you. And you just have to sometimes just step away and just let them do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all the time I've learned. This is I've learned, I'll just say that, that they are what they are. Dad has to be quite engaged in it. There was only one time that I indirectly disagreed with one dad, and I couldn't coach in this scenario. And I've shared that on the podcast in the last 2 weeks when a couple had, or the mom was asking if I can help her get her kindergarten and grade one kiddo to the 95th on standardized tests for reading, writing, and math by the end of the first year, because he was insistent that that had to happen for her to homeschool. And so I just simply said, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Like, I genuinely wish your family well, but I can't. And to be honest with you, don't really want to help that kind of a process. But otherwise, I love encouraging moms to just move toward alignment with their partner so that things really feel like the atmosphere is good for everybody at home. I have to go though, so please tell me that you're actually heading out to that painting appointment with your daughter. Is that right?
Yeah. And yeah, first we drop one off at gymnastics and then we go to the painting and my husband takes the third one to a soccer practice.
Now,
So
yeah,
that's our evening here.
yeah, I know. I've said this, but I'm not actually joking. Get a really nice souped up minivan, sell the house, and that's your mortgage payment. Is that how that car? Because you spent a lot of time in it at the season of homeschooling. But I hope it's so much fun, and thank you for joining me on the podcast. I know you and I could talk constantly about a variety of things. Really appreciate your feedback and the things you have to share in our collective and on the podcast. So thank you, Sig.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was a fun experience. Yeah.
We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.